Hello there, my fellow garden lovers. Welcome back, or maybe, welcome for the very first time, to this gentle corner of the internet, where the leaves rustle, the air carries stories, and time seems to slow down just enough for us to breathe in a little peace. If you're anything like me, you know that the most beautiful kind of peace isn't found in silence. It's found in the soft scratch of trowels on soil, the creak of an old garden bench, or the faint scent of rosemary brushing against your hand. It's found in chipped watering cans, weathered wood, and the tiny sprout that pushes through, no matter how small the pot or how hard the world gets. And today we're going full farmhouse. Rustic. Cozy. Inviting. Because the charm of country life? It fits perfectly into even the tiniest of spaces, as long as there's love. You're watching Golden Seniors Living, the channel where age is never a limit to beauty, creativity, or joy. Here, we believe that life doesn't slow down as the years roll on. No, it just grows deeper roots. Maybe your knees creak a little louder. Maybe your garden isn't acres wide. But that doesn't mean your space can't bloom with heart and heritage. In fact, that's where the magic begins. You don't need a big backyard. You don't need a young back. All you need is a little curiosity, a few forgotten items, and the willingness to see beauty where others might see junk. We turn old into bold. We turn rustic into radiant. We turn everyday items into garden soul food. And if you've ever whispered, "I wish I could do that too," then friend, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into 10 cozy, creative, and rustic farmhouse garden ideas made especially for small spaces. Think tiny patios, narrow porches, little nooks between potted plants, all about style without strain. And yes, some of these ideas? They might just tug on your heart a little, in the best way. We've got secret planters, vintage upcycles, and even a few surprises that'll make you say, "Wait, I have one of those in my garage." So if that sounds like your kind of cup of herbal tea, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. Because around here, beauty doesn't cost much, but it sure gives back a lot. Alright, grab your gardening gloves, or just a warm cup of tea, and cozy in. Let's get growing. 1. Cracked teapots equals mini herb cradles. Let's begin with something small, something often overlooked. You know that old teapot tucked away in the back of your kitchen cabinet? The one with the delicate little rose print and the crack along the handle? Maybe it belonged to your mother, or maybe you just always loved the way it looked on the windowsill. It hasn't held tea in years, but that doesn't mean its story is over. No, it just needs a new purpose. Imagine filling it with a bit of soil, slipping in a tender sprig of mint or thyme, and setting it right on your porch ledge, at waist height, where there's no need to bend, no strain, just joy. That teapot, with all its little imperfections, becomes something even more beautiful, a cradle for life, a container of calm. You don't have to fix the cracks, let them stay. Let them remind you of everything that's been poured in and out of that pot over the years. Because now, instead of tea, it's pouring out greenery, fragrance, and a fresh kind of love. That's the thing about gardening in our golden years, it's not about what's perfect. It's about what still has purpose. And that cracked teapot? It still has plenty of love left to give. 2. Farmhouse ladder display for potted blooms. Now, shift your gaze toward the shed, or maybe behind the house. There it is, an old wooden ladder. A little uneven, the paint chipped off in places, maybe even a splinter or two. It probably hasn't been climbed in years. But here's a thought, what if, instead of climbing up on it, we let flowers climb it instead? Take that ladder and gently lean it against the sunny fence or wall. Then, place terracotta pots on each rung, small ones, big ones, some bursting with marigolds, others trailing ivy like gentle garden lace. You don't need to build anything. You don't need to nail or drill. Just lean in place. Step by step, bloom by bloom, you've created a living farmhouse sculpture. It doesn't take up much room, and it's all upright, all within easy reach, no crouching, no kneeling. Just standing there, proud and blooming. And you know what? Every time you water it, you'll be reminded that beauty doesn't need to start fresh. Sometimes, it just needs to be leaned in the right direction. Because that ladder isn't holding weight anymore, it's holding memories. It's climbing, slowly, into something lovely once again. 3. Galvanized buckets turn side tables with soil and soul. Let's take a look at something sturdy, something humble, something you might have passed over a dozen times without thinking twice. A galvanized bucket. Maybe it once held tools, maybe it lived in your garden shed or carried apples during harvest. On its own, it's not much to look at, just cold metal, a little rusted, a little dented. But when we give it a second life, it becomes something truly special. Picture this: fill that old bucket halfway with stones or garden soil, and place a smooth wooden round over the top. Just like that, you've made a rustic side table, one that can hold a pot of lavender, a glass of iced tea, or even serve as a seat when you need to rest. And if you'd like, leave the lid off and let the bucket hold blooming plants instead. This one piece becomes multifunctional: a planter, a stool, a secret storage space for tools. All while keeping the farmhouse charm intact. It's simple. It's practical. And the rust? Don't hide it. Embrace it. Because rust isn't damage, it's just time's signature. A mark of stories told and still being written in steel, soil, and soul. 4. Hanging window frame with vines and vintage charm. Now let's shift to something more graceful, more vertical, and filled with a touch of vintage romance. Have you ever come across an old wooden window frame? No glass, maybe chipped at the corners, maybe it used to swing open to a garden long gone. Most people would toss it away. But not us. We see something else: a canvas. Take that empty frame and mount it on an outside wall, the side of a shed, or even your porch. Then gently train ivy or a trailing vine like string of pearls through the open panes. Over time, the greenery weaves through the wood, and what was once a forgotten frame becomes a living piece of art. It breaks the flatness of dull walls. It adds texture, depth, and story. Best of all, it requires no bending, no digging, just a few hooks and a little time. With each tendril that curls and climbs, your wall begins to whisper something softer. Something older. Something beautiful. Let your walls tell stories. Of windows that once opened to sun and breeze, and now open to a new kind of view, one that grows. 5. Mason jar candle planters. Let's turn now to something soft, something that glows, but not too bright. Something that feels like a memory flickering at the edge of evening. Mason jars, we all have them. Some were used for jams, others for buttons or loose change. They sit at the back of cabinets or tucked in cardboard boxes, waiting. But what if we brought them back out and gave them purpose again? With just a handful of pebbles at the base, a tiny succulent nestled gently in the middle, and a flameless candle flickering on top, you've created a twilight planter. It's light and life in a single jar. Safe, simple, and soothing. Line them along a porch rail, hang a few from shepherd hooks, or place them on side tables beside your favorite chair. They don't shout for attention, they whisper. Their glow is soft, steady, and comforting, like dusk settling in after a good day. No wires. No fire risk. Just calm and charm. Because sometimes, the quietest things leave the deepest peace. And these little jars? They shine as gentle as dusk light. 6. Old drawer garden. And now, let's open something. Something old. Something wooden. Something that once held socks, or handkerchiefs, or forgotten love letters in the back of a dresser. Drawers. Yes, those solid, squared-off drawers we once pulled open 100 times a day. Now, they're ready to grow again. Take them out, give them a quick sanding if they need it, and then stack them in a stair-step shape, like steps leading to a little garden dream. Fill each drawer with soil, and plant flowers, herbs, or even vegetables in each tier. Suddenly, you've built a layered raised bed, no hammering or heavy lifting required. It's perfect for tight spaces, and for backs and knees that prefer less bending. Each drawer holds not just soil, but possibility. A place once used to store the things of daily life, now brimming with the color and scent of living things. And as each bloom rises from those wooden boxes, it's like watching something open, not just a drawer, but hope. Growth. A new beginning. Because this isn't just a DIY project. It's pulling open new life. 7. Vintage chair planter, seat replaced with soil tray. Let's take a moment to sit, not on the chair, but with the memory of it. Picture an old wooden chair that once sat at the head of a family table. Maybe it's got a spindle back, maybe the paint is chipped just enough to be charming. It's no longer strong enough to hold a person, but that doesn't mean it's done giving. Remove the seat and replace it with a shallow, lined pot or wooden tray. Fill it with soil, and suddenly, that chair doesn't just sit in your garden, it blooms in it. Plant thyme, trailing lobelia, or bright marigolds right where someone once rested after a long day. Place it near your door or under a tree, and let it be a conversation starter, or just a quiet reminder of what was and what still is. No bending, no heavy lifting, just beauty at the perfect height. Because this chair has simply changed roles. From hosting meals to hosting marigolds. And in its quiet new job, it might just become your favorite seat in the garden. 8. Chicken wire garden frame, rustic trellis art. Now look a little closer at that pile of scrap in the corner. See that square wooden frame? Maybe it was once part of a door, maybe a gate, or even a window. And next to it, some leftover chicken wire, bent, rusty, forgotten. But together, they become something magical. Mount that old frame on a sunny garden wall or lean it against the fence. Stretch the wire across the back like a rustic canvas. Then plant sweet peas, clematis, or even morning glories below it. Over time, they'll find their way through the wire, weaving upward into patterns no human hand could design. It's like watching nature paint, petal by petal, tendril by tendril. And as they grow, you'll have created not just a trellis, but a piece of living art. It adds texture, character, and a little sense of freedom to any plain surface. Let it be imperfect. Let it age with grace. Because sometimes, the best things in our gardens aren't polished, they're wild. They're real. They reach without apology. So mount that wire. Water those vines. And let things grow wild and upward. 9. Metal watering can fountain. Close your eyes for just a second and imagine the sound of water trickling gently, not rushing, not roaring, just softly pouring, like a whisper from a simpler time. Now picture that sound coming not from a big fountain or expensive fixture, but from an old metal watering can. Maybe it once hung in your shed, maybe the handle's a little loose and the spout has seen better days. That's exactly what makes it perfect. Take that watering can, add a small solar pump inside, and position it so the water cascades out and recirculates. You don't need a pond, just a basin or a pot below to catch the flow. It becomes a tiny fountain, charming, compact, and full of character. Tuck it among your potted plants, set it by the porch steps, or let it pour quietly in the corner of your patio. No cords, no plumbing, just sunshine and serenity. It brings movement, sound, and a rhythm to your garden that soothes the soul. And every drop feels like a memory. Every trickle like a page turning in an old book. Let peace pour endlessly, even from a kin that no longer waters anything except your spirit. 10. Cozy blanket crate bench with secret planter base. And now, something for the body and the blooms. Imagine a place to sit, soft with a cushion, tucked in a corner of your garden, a quiet spot for morning tea or sunset reflections. But beneath that seat, a hidden secret. Take an old wooden crate, sturdy and wide, and add a hinged top with a cozy, weatherproof cushion. Inside the crate, hollow out space for a planter base. Line it, fill it with soil, and grow trailing flowers or fragrant herbs that peek out through slats or spill gently over the edge. Now, you have something more than a bench. You have a blend of comfort and nature, a seat that gives you rest and gives the earth a little more life. It solves the problem of garden clutter. Store tools, gloves, or even a folded blanket inside. It's practical. It's rustic. It's deeply personal. Because in a small space, every piece matters. And when one thing can do many things, comfort, contain, and grow, that's the kind of wisdom that feels just right. So find your quiet corner. Sit down. Breathe in the lavender. And bloom while you rest. So today, we uncovered TWN cozy, clever, and comforting ways to turn even the tiniest garden space into a soulful retreat. We didn't just talk about old teapots or ladders or drawers, we talked about the heart behind them. About how the things we once used, the things we once loved, can bloom all over again when we see them with new eyes. And maybe more importantly, when we allow ourselves to slow down and see the beauty in what's already around us. Because in our golden years, it's not about keeping up, it's about slowing down with style. It's about choosing meaning over trends. Comfort over clutter. And knowing that every rusty nail, every chipped edge, every weathered board tells a piece of our story. These gardens we build now, they're not just for flowers. They're for us. For peace. For pride. For remembering, and for blooming in a whole new way. If even one idea today made your heart smile, give us a thumbs up. Share this video with a friend who might love it too. And leave a comment down below. Which one of these rustic ideas are you most excited to try first? We truly love to know. And don't forget, subscribe to Golden Seniors Living, where your creativity keeps growing, your hands keep crafting, and your space becomes more yours with every passing season. Until next time, keep growing, keep creating, and keep finding beauty in the everyday. We'll see you in the garden.